Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to discuss the 21st century skills, learning for life in our times. So allow me now to present to you the presentation so that at least you would be able to understand the lessons for today. So we would be focusing on the century skills, the 21st century skills, learning for life in our times. How to be relevant, especially in this time of pandemic. So there will be two parts, no? And then we would be discussing the first part, and then after that, you have to take a look at the second part in order for you to be able to understand the 21st century skills that we would be discussing. So are your students ready for the 21st century education? So this is the question that I would be asking to the educators who would be watching this video clip or YouTube video. Or are you ready for the 21st century education? So it's just but fitting for us to ask this question to ourselves because as educators, we have to be ready, especially in this time of pandemic. And we have to be equipped with the necessary skills and tools in order for us to make sure that our students would be learning something from us and that they would be able to master the most essential learning competencies included in the subject areas that we would be teaching them. So what are the 21st century skills? Today, we would be discussing the learning and innovation skills, the digital literacy, and of course, career and life skills. Let's just start by simply comparing the 21st century skills to that of course, the 21st century education. In the 21st century, what topics or content does the teachers do teachers teaching? And the focus, of course, what teaching methods to use. So remember always that whenever we are teaching, we have to consider the teaching methods. This is methods and modern approaches. So therefore, the first thing that we really have to consider is the method that we would be teaching whenever we discuss a particular learning competency. And then how to assess to see if the students have taken on board what have been taught to them. So those are the focus of the 21st or 20th century education. But this time in the 21st century education, when you compare the 20th century education, the focus is actually what students will be able to do after teaching what they could not do before and to what standard. So it's not all about the content that we are teaching them. We are talking here about the things that the students can do and they could not do before. And to what particular standard are we targeting? Now, in the 21st century education, we are also considering how to supply learning activities that will help students to achieve those outcomes. So therefore, we really need to consider the learning experiences that we would be providing to our students in order for them to master the learning competencies. But before, during the 20th century education, we are just focusing on the methods that we would be using. The third is, of course, how to assess students to see how well they have achieved. So we are referring here to the performance task that we are providing our students. It's not all about paper and pencil tests anymore, but the performance tasks that we would be providing our students in order for them to be able to apply what they have learned from the lessons that we discuss, right? So those are the differences between the 20th century education and then of course the 21st century education. In the past, education was primarily focused on learning the important content for each subject area, then assessing this content knowledge with quizzes or formative assessments or summative assessment at the end of the lesson. So we are providing them with exercises, worksheet in order for us to determine if they have learned something. But in the 21st century learning framework, it expands and deepens the earlier model. making it more suited to our times or relevant to our times. It's more of student-centered performance output. That means there are performance tasks that are being provided to our students. So the framework that I would be focusing in this particular lesson is, of course, the 21st century framework, okay, for 21st century learning. Okay, it is actually in the year 2009, particularly the partnership for 21st century learning. Okay, and I was able to take this from www.p21.org/framework. So let's start with the part one. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So let's focus on the learning and innovation skills. So what are the things that we should be doing as educators in order for us to develop this particular skill among our students? So learning and innovation skills. How do we make sure that our students become innovative? Okay? How do we make sure that they are learning from the activities that we would be providing them? First, we have to separate students who are prepared for increasingly complex life and work environments in the 21st century and those who are not. So we have to try to identify those students who are capable to innovate and those who are not, so that at least we would be able to determine their capacity. So that's the first thing that we really need to consider. And there are three things that should be considered: creativity and innovation, critical thinking and problem solving, and communication and collaboration. These are the skills that should be developed among our students in order for us, to address this particular skill, the learning and innovation skill. So let's start with creativity and innovation. What are the things that we should be doing? First, we have to make sure that our students think creatively. We have to provide them activities, okay, in order for them to think creatively. So therefore, it's our responsibility to make sure that the learning experiences provided whenever we are teaching particular lessons or activities would make our students think creatively. And then they have to create new and worthwhile ideas. We can provide them with guide questions, and then from the guide questions, they would be creating new and worthwhile ideas. And then they have to work creatively with others. Collaborative work should also be provided. And then they have to work creatively. Okay? Provide them activities in order for them to develop, implement, and communicate new ideas to others effectively. Remember, our students nowadays, they belong to Generation Z, and that means they really would like to share their ideas. Then next, implement innovations. You provide activities that would make our students innovate. Act on creative ideas to make a tangible and useful contribution to the field in which the innovation will occur. You have to provide them with performance tasks or output-based activities that would make them think creatively and then innovate. No? They have to create something which is tangible based on, of course, the guidelines that we would be telling them or providing them, because it's very important that our students nowadays are properly guided. Then next, critical thinking and problem solving. How do we make sure that our students are thinking critically and that they would be able to solve problems and be able to apply it in real life scenario? They have to reason out effectively, use systems thinking, and of course, make judgments and decisions. Let's start with reason effectively. We have to teach our students nowadays, especially in the 21st century, how to reason out effectively, okay, by considering the ideas being presented and then ask them to reason out. Ask them to answer the guide questions that you would be providing them. In that way, we would be training our students to reason out effectively, to give their reasons. The next, use systems thinking. Okay? And then finally, make judgments and decisions. Effectively analyze and evaluate evidences, okay, or arguments and beliefs. You have to give them time to analyze the provided information and then evaluate that information and then tell them, okay, to give their arguments and beliefs regarding the information provided. And then how do we make sure that they would be able to solve the problems, no? Because in these trying times, we have to make sure that our students should be able to solve problems and then contextualize the particular problem and then be able to apply in real life scenario. We have to give them, no, activities, ask them to solve different kinds of non-familiar problems in both conventional and innovative ways. It's not only the simple problems that they're encountering, but of course, the non-familiar problems. We have to give them enough activities or problems in order for them to be able to solve those concerns in the future if they would be able to encounter the same non-familiar problems. Next, communication and collaboration. This is very important. We have to make sure that our students learn how to communicate effectively and clearly. Okay? They have to be able to articulate thoughts and ideas effectively, listens effectively to decipher meaning. That means provide them time to communicate their ideas, their opinions regarding the topics that you are discussing them. Nowadays, it should not be the teacher alone who would be talking in front, okay, of the students. You have to involve the students. You ask them to communicate their ideas, their opinions regarding the topic that you are discussing. You ask them to explain so that at least we are developing our students to communicate clearly. Okay? And then listen effectively. It's not only about communication. It's not only about communicating their ideas, but we have to teach our students, particularly nowadays, to listen. Because nowadays, no, our students actually do not really want to listen. Sometimes they are bored. So therefore, we have to teach them as well how to listen effectively and how to decipher meaning. We have to teach them how to understand what we are teaching them. Then collaborate with others. Our students nowadays really would like to collaborate because they really would like to share their ideas about the lessons being discussed. So in order for them to demonstrate ability to work effectively and respectfully with diverse teams, we have to make sure to provide them with collaborative work whenever we are teaching a particular lesson. And then we have to give them responsibilities, no? Individual accountability to the collaborative work that we would be providing them. So that at least they would become independent, not dependent to the leaders in their group. But so therefore, if we would like to make sure that the students would be contributing something to the collaboration that they are doing, we have to provide them with individual activities. So that's how we make sure that our students are involved during collaboration. So that's the end of part one. Thank you very much. And if you want to know more about the 21st century skills, please watch, of course, the part two.